Welcome. In today's talk, I'll be talking a bit about the Millennium Development Goals, but focusing mainly on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that are known to be the SDGs. You may recall that the MDGs have been criticized for having not been very participatory in terms of the formulation. We were talking about 8 goals that were to be achieved in a span of 15 years between 2000 and 2015, and they primarily related to achieving development in low-income country context. So when the international community began to plan the post-2015 development agenda, the United Nations commissioned several parallel processes meant to receive feedback from various actors, and thousands of consultations took place. And in 2015, as part of the 2030 agenda, 17 SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, were agreed to. Now, what is particularly interesting is we have now 17 goals that deal with both development and environment. But in addition to the developmental goals of, say, poverty, hunger, health, education, gender equality, infrastructure, there's also much more focus on growth and prosperity. We're talking about consumption, particularly in affluent country settings. But we are also talking about something that is unique in the 17 SDGs, inequality reduction. Now, inequality reduction, as in SDG 10, applies to a reduction of inequality between countries, but also within countries. And this has been relatively controversial in international development because not all international agencies, not all international actors have been comfortable talking about inequality because they felt that that really is about politics and that could get oneself into trouble. There are sovereignty issues. One is much more comfortable, or has been traditionally, talking about development, economic growth, and not so much inequality reduction. The very fact that we now have a goal that is focused on inequality is fantastic. Another goal in the 17 SDGs that drew widespread attention is SDG 16, that talks about the role of good, proper, well-functioning, effective institutions in achieving sustainable development. This was also a very controversial goal, and I'm told by people that we've interacted with, there were lots of debates. Some people wanted a goal for democracy, and for, of course, many valid reasons, certain countries, or maybe not valid reasons, certain countries opposed that goal. So we have nonetheless a focus on governance for development. And the very fact that I just mentioned there's something also on consumption is seen to be extremely positive. So we have environmental goals, we have developmental goals, we have climate-related goals, and then we also have economic goals. So the 3 pillars of sustainable development, social, economic, and ecological, are well taken care of. So how are we going to achieve these in 15 years? And by the way, we only have 10 years as of now to achieve these. Well, the framers and the people who participated, which basically means all countries, decided that they would have certain targets. So the 17 SDGs come with 169 corresponding targets that would help in terms of operationalizing these goals. And then in 2015, the United Nations Statistical Commission put together the IAEG, or the Interagency Expert Group, that was given the task of operationalizing the indicators so that one could actually, operationalizing the targets into indicators that could be measured. And thus far, around 232 indicators have been agreed to by the IAEG, and these indicators are categorized into 3 tiers. Tier 1 indicators are indicators where there is agreement on methodology for measuring these features, and that there is regular availability of data. So there are various agencies that collect data on these indicators regularly. Tier 2 indicators there is methodological agreement, but data is not collected regularly. And tier 3 indicators are those where there isn't any methodological agreement and there is no collection of data. So data collection is seen to be extremely crucial in the sense that data and the quality of data in development has often been debated. So those relate to measurement, and in terms of the follow-up of the SDGs, the most important institution that was created was the annual high-level political forum that meets in July in New York every year, where countries are supposed to report and present their so-called VNRs, the Voluntary National Reviews, where they reflect on what they've achieved and the kind of challenges they face in achieving the SDGs.